Eurozone crisis. It's leading the news and affecting investors across the globe. But what is the net impact on Asian corporates? Well, joining me now, Ross O'Brien, director of the Economist Corporate Network here in Hong Kong. Ross, thanks very much for joining me. Now, we're hearing all about the problems in Europe, but is there actually possibly a benefit for Asian corporates out of all of this?
I don't really see any silver lining. If the best case scenario is if, as we believe in our central forecast, that the Eurozone does hold together, and by the way, we believe that it's an all or nothing affair, so Grexit, or however you want to acronize it, will not have any positive benefit. But should the Eurozone fall apart, it'll be disastrous for exporters in Asia, disastrous for borrowers, disastrous for everybody all around.
So with that scenario in mind, if it did happen, how do you think Asian corporates should really position themselves, especially those who have a lot of business with Europe and a lot of credit with Europe?
Let's take those in two bits. I think the business bit is probably, ironically, a little bit easier to sort. Quite a lot over the last couple of years, we've seen Asian companies kind of reorienting their supply chains, certainly trading more within Asia. Intra-Asia trade has been going up substantially. Trade between China and Latin America and Africa and other emerging markets has been growing up substantially. So that's not completely going to fill the hole left by a Euro-apocalypse, but it will help cushion exporters in Asia. The credit thing is a lot trickier. Particularly a lot of large multinationals that come out of Korea and Japan actually depend upon Western banks for a lot of their trade finance and working capital, and that's going to put a definite drag on their expansion activities.
Going back to this inter-Asia trade, do you then recommend that Asia corporates really look to build their networks and businesses bigger in Asia and start to avoid Europe more in those connections?
Absolutely, but that's turning a very large supertanker around very slowly. That's not something that you can flick a switch on overnight. But to the extent that your business depends on demand from other emerging markets with increasing numbers of aspirational consumers in Indonesia or South Africa or wherever, you're probably better insulated from this next round of the crisis.
Back to Asia, though, where we're seeing signs of or some examples of a slowdown in China. How do you think corporates should really position themselves for long-term opportunities in China? Is this a good time to go in?
My view is it's always a good time to go into China. And for those who worry about rising costs and the rising cost of productivity in China, there's still quite a lot of inner space in China. The next 100 cities that constitute Tier 3 and Tier 4 cities are still growing at an average rate that exceeds 10% a year, even if China's growth, which ironically slowing to 8.2, is still one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So I don't see a slowdown being a harbinger of a hard landing at all. And I actually think that quite a lot of what China is trying to do in terms of turn its economy around to be more domestic consumption driven is going to necessitate that it does slow down a little bit.
Switching directions slightly, an area of expertise for you, which is technology. And if you look at the year 2011, about half the patents or new technology patents came out of Asia. What's that trend telling you? Is this the region for the future of technology?
Well, absolutely, but I don't necessarily think that it means that there's going to be a head-to-head East-West clash. I think you will find more examples of what, say, Cisco is doing, which is actually moving a substantial portion of its technology processes to Bangalore. If you ask a Cisco executive today, he'll tell you that their company has two global headquarters, Bangalore and San Jose. So I think that most technology companies today see the scale of talent in the region. They certainly see the backyard markets. They see a willingness on the behalf of corporates to adopt next generation technology trends like cloud computing. So Asia is certainly going to carry the technology wave in the same way that it is global the global economic wave, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's in a pitted battle for dominance. It's going to be more of a collaborative way forward.
From Bangalore to San Jose, that's an interesting way to look at it. Ross O'Brien, thanks very much for talking to me today.
Thank you.